Yankees are starting to look like the Braves, but for the AL. The Mariners made a big move, and I'm not exactly too sure if it was a good idea, but I guess we'll find out, and a bunch of other news going on in MLB. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Touching Base podcast. To see your beautiful smiling faces once again. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, like the video at the end if I deserved it, and leave a comment below on your guys' thoughts, because we're going to talk about some stuff that might piss you off. No, really, it might. We have a lot of angry people in the comments. So Victor Robles has agreed to a 2-year extension with the Seattle Mariners with a $9.75 million contract with a $9 million option in 2027. It's a club option, so at least the Mariners have some leeway there, but he is locked in for 2 more years. And that also includes $2 million in like bonuses and escalators. So there is a lot of incentive for him to play well and continue what he's been doing. Now, if you look at the Mariners, and most of us have been watching really closely, Victor Robles is at the top tier. He is basically the best that they have right now on that lineup, maybe aside from Cal Raleigh, whose batting average honestly does not reflect how vital he has been for this team while we've had a bunch of injuries. Robles was picked up, and he currently has a batting average for the season of 269, 353, and a slugging of 388. He's not hitting massive home runs and bombs. He has a few times, but mostly he just gets on base. He's almost like a Luis Arraez kind of hitter at this point, which is exactly what the Mariners needed, was runners in scoring position or someone to hit in the guys that they constantly leave on the base path. Now, why would I possibly say that this is not the best idea? I'm just going off of recent history. If you look back in the last 7 games, the Mariners have been really hot. In fact, they just finished a 22-1 in scoring against the New York Mets. Granted, New York Mets have been on a crazy travel schedule going back and forth from the East Coast to West Coast, so they're probably super disoriented, but nonetheless, they outscored them 22-1 in a sweep of 3 games, and in that time, out of the last 23 at-bats, Victor Robles has only batted a 133. He's slugging 174, and he only has 2 stolen bases with 2 RBIs. So, is this the decline? Was he just super hot for a certain amount of time, and now he's cooling off, and of course, we'd lock him down now that everybody loves him, or is this an investment and he just kind of hit a rough patch at home? The Mariners have a habit of signing a really big name, they come to Seattle, and then they just kind of fall on their face. In this case, we signed somebody that was a no name with no expectation, and he's blown up significantly, but now that we've given him an extension, you might as well have just signed a new player because it seems like his performance is dropping. I like Victor Robles. I think a lot of Seattle Mariner fans do, but I would be a little bit concerned with this last 7-game stint that has kind of looked like the rest of the team. On the bright side, if he's able to keep his average relatively the same the rest of the season, so batting at 269 with a 388-ish slugging percentage, I think everybody would be satisfied, especially for the next 2 years. And given that this winter, they won't have to go to look out for any more outfielders. With Randy Arozarena in the outfield and Julio Rodriguez coming back, who has also been very, very bad at the plate, at least defensively, the Mariners are set, and they also still do have about 3 or 4 extra outfielders on their bench, which seems a bit ridiculous to me, but nonetheless, they are set for the outfield, and they can now focus on the infield holes that they still have. We don't know about JP Crawford as far as him coming back in the offseason, whether or not he's going to be the awesome bat that we need and still sustain his defensive ability, or if it's going to decline. He had a major injury on his wrist, and that can affect players dramatically. Speaking of infielders, we get off the Mariners topic. Ahmad Rosario was DFA'd officially by the Dodgers, with only being there for like really a couple of weeks. He has been let go now that Mookie Betts is back, and they picked up Tommy Edman. They still have Miguel Rojas and a bunch of these infielders. They just felt that he wasn't needed on the team, as they just recently DFA'd Kevin Biggio, who filled in for Freddie Freeman while he was on family leave. So what does that mean for Ahmad Rosario? Because honestly, this year has been very good for him. I was surprised that he got traded. Yes, he is going to be a free agent this next season, but he plays everything. He plays infield, second base, shortstop, third. He can play first on some occasions, but he's good defensively, and his bat has been hot. So maybe there's some teams that are interested in picking up an infielder for the last month of the season, or maybe even going into the playoffs, that he can fill a role in, and that could possibly mean that the Mariners might pick him up. Other teams that I think that probably should go after him, honestly, though, is probably the Angels, given the fact that they lost Rengifo and they have officially lost Mike Trout for the rest of the season. I think Rosario might be a really good fit for them, as even though they're not going to make a playoff run, he can maybe get settled in LA, see how he plays, and it's a little bit of a tester to see if they didn't want to sign him in the offseason. I don't know. Angels and Mariners, I think they're really hot contestants. Also, there's some other teams on the National League side that probably could pick him up maybe like the Braves, but I'm gonna leave the Braves alone. I had a lot of predictions with them and they've gone nowhere close to what I assumed. But if you saw a video not too long ago, I thought a certain particular player was going to Atlanta and he ended up going to the Yankees. Well, sorry Yanks, like I said, Braves American League equivalent. Jazz Chisholm, UCL injury. He's not a pitcher. No, he's not on the mound. And yes, it's his left arm, not his right arm that he throws with. So what happened? I don't know, but he is probably going to be sent to the IL with only a couple weeks after the deadline of going to New York. The Yankees just cannot get away with a healthy lineup. It seems impossible for them. And I almost feel bad for that team because they are plagued by injuries, and it's almost as bad as the Braves. What are they going to do at this point? Well, I mean, luckily for them, they do have a lot of extra players, but Jazz was a huge piece that replaced their bats. I mean, honestly, they only had Soto and Judge that were really hitting. LeMahieu's been kind of quiet. Rizzo's been pretty quiet. Austin Wells has picked it up behind the plate and has been hitting excellent, but Verdugo, still pretty stale. And them losing Jazz really puts them in a really uncomfortable position for the wild card spot, along with fighting for first place because the Orioles continue to be dominant. Speaking of which, when it comes to just really rough for the Yankees, they just lost the game to the White Sox. This is rough because the Yankees lost by 10 runs. It was a 12-2 victory for the White Sox, of course, right when Jazz Chisholm gets injured. So if I was New York, yeah, I would be a little bit freaked out. Going back to LA, so shortly after they DFA'd Ahmad Rosario, which may be the reason why that they let him go, is to pick up a pitcher because their top prospect pitcher, River Ryan, who's been pretty good this season, he had one bad outing, I would say, he is going down with Tommy John. It is an absolute pandemic, epidemic, whatever you want to call it when it comes to these elbows. You cannot save an elbow at this point, and again, another pitcher falls for the Dodgers. So that question everybody's been asking, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried should you be if you're a Dodgers fan as far as them making the playoffs, especially with how the Padres and the Diamondbacks are so hot at this point? They lost another starting pitcher, and I'm assuming they're going to have to find someone to sign in the long run, and that also meant getting rid of Ahmed Rosario to hopefully clear him off payroll. These are just my guesses. I don't know exactly what the plan is, but there is some weird shift going on that's causing the Dodgers to act quick because their lineup really isn't set. Their rotation isn't set. There's still a lot of injuries to look at and a lot of moving pieces. This is from MLB directly. The Diamondbacks are the hottest team in baseball at the moment. Since July 1st, they are 25-10, which are the most wins in majors over that span, and they've won 15 of their last 18 games. Talk about a hot team in baseball, and I should have worn my Diamondbacks hat because that is where I just moved from, Arizona, and I'm so happy and so excited to see them making a comeback. It seems that Corbin Carroll has woken up. He's had a terrible, disastrous season compared to last year, and now he has awakened. The only downside I would say here is with them being so hot, they also may be losing Ketel Marte. He's day-to-day at this point, but he did just get an MRI and they haven't released the results, which is never good. Another guy that I am a huge fan of, former Mariner, started in the system. We should have kept him. I don't know why we traded him away. Come on. And he's been absolutely insane. Ketel Marte is in the running for MVP, not far behind Shohei Ohtani. And especially since you take Shohei Ohtani and he doesn't have any defensive ability, there's no D WAR to compare him to. Ketel may be a potential MVP if he can keep up what he's doing and stay healthy. I don't know what's going to happen here in the moving forward, but he has missed a game and he did have a rough game while he tried to play on Monday. So we'll still have to wait and see. Of course, Shohei's the big name, but Marte has really proven himself to be an MVP caliber player, and that will also depend on what the Diamondbacks do going into the playoffs and if they make it. We need a new office because this is the stuff. Marte, I'm rooting for you, and you're right underneath Shohei Ohtani's signature. So come on, get them D-backs in. Final thoughts I just want to throw out there because this is just fun for me. Astros fans, you want to hear this? Your pitcher Blair Henley has 135 ERA. Some final thoughts, and this is for you Astros fans. Sorry if you hate me, but I'm a Mariners fan and you're just gonna have to suck this up. You have a pitcher holding the highest ERA in 2024 with 135.00, not 1.35, 135.00 ERA, as he had an outing of only a third. He pitched a third of an inning, and now he has the highest ERA in baseball. So congrats to you. On some good news of pitching and just some really memorable stuff you should probably keep in mind. Probably one of the best closers to ever live was Mariano Rivera, and I think we can pretty much all agree on that. I was a big fan of Francisco Rodriguez when I was growing up, but Mariano Rivera has always been the most impressive closer. Looking at the numbers from 1997 to 2000, Mariano Rivera had 160 saves with a 2.14 ERA, 277.2 innings with a 6.9 Ks per 9. Very impressive. Like, it's really good for a closer. We gotta look 24 years later, don't we? From 2021 to 2024, with 146 saves, an ERA of 1.70 out of 270.1 innings pitched, and a K per 9 of 8.8. Emmanuel Clase is starting to look like the new legend and historic figure for closers in this game. It took 24 years to get to this point, but I think it's somebody that you all should be paying attention to and really recognize. If you don't have his rookie card, if you don't have his signed jersey, I would get it now. Speaking of which, I also have a bunch of baseball cards in my eBay account, so if you guys want to go ahead and check the link below, you can check out what baseball cards are available. I do have some other ones. Feel free to DM me on Instagram and ask if there's a card that you're searching for. I might have it available for sale. Other than that, leave a comment below on what your thoughts are today. Are the Yankees screwed? Are the Braves out of the playoffs? What do you think about the Mariners? And Astros fans, Jarren Duran said something to you guys and you got really mad. So that whole story was a bit ridiculous. So I'm going to leave it for another video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.